The Evergreen Show, taking your business from seed to sapling to towering giant. With your hosts, best-selling author and business growth experts Noah Fleming and Sean Veltman. This is the only show that gives you proven, pragmatic, and immediately applicable business growth strategies every week in 15 minutes or less. Here's Noah and Sean.
Well, hello, everybody. We are back, and welcome to another episode of The Evergreen Show. This is your host, Noah Fleming, with my co-host, Senior Sean Veltman out of Calgary. Sean, how are you doing today?
I am incredible, Noah. It is springtime. We're just past Easter, and I am really looking forward to talking to you today about the incredibly violent-sounding but benign blowing up the box.
Well, blowing up the box is something that I just spent a week discussing with a group of my peers and my colleagues in New York City. We were there for the annual Hall of Fame consulting meeting. Yes, I am a member of the Consulting Hall of Fame, which is a very prestigious group of well-known experts and leaders in different industries. But we spent a week there, a small group of us, about 15. And one of the things my mentor said and my coach said, he said, you know, we're all trying to think outside the box. He said, but why even put yourself in a box? Just destroy the box, right? Get out of the box completely. Don't think outside of it. What if you just create your own box? And this was kind of interesting to me. And you said, you know, well, what do you mean by that? And give me an example of that, because I don't really get it. I mean, isn't that what thinking outside the box is? And so we started to talk about that, and I thought there was some interesting stuff. For example, you know, Amazon is one of the companies that is always, I think, not putting themselves in anybody else's box. They're thinking far be outside of whatever box they may be in, if that's a retail box, but they destroy it and they tear things up and they start from scratch. So an example would be when everybody's struggling with retail, brick and mortar is closing, there's a struggle for brick and mortar. Amazon says two things. One, we're going to open brick and mortar stores now, even though 15 years ago he said, Jeff Bezos said, you know, that the end of bookstores was coming. He's actually opening bookstores. But two, then they take a different approach to retail and they say, now we're going to create grocery stores where you don't even have cash registers. You just walk in with your phone, fill up your bags, and walk out. And to me, that's a great example of when thinking outside the box isn't enough and actually destroying the box, just getting outside of it. Instead of putting yourself in anyone else's box, you just do your own thing. Does that help you understand the concept a little bit?
I think it does, you know, and as you said, when you first said that to me, my immediate impression was, wow, that's kind of hippy-dippy and frou-frou, and I don't really know what that means. So concrete examples help. I like your Amazon example. It reminds me of, I believe it's Nordstrom's who's experimenting with going to 1,000-foot or 1,500 square foot spaces where they've got a lot of highly knowledgeable people there, but no real inventory, just enough to allow people to try stuff on and then order it online. So they're completely inverting the way that big box stores have been successful in the past.
Right. So you know, I think, and I just banged something there off my desk. I think, you know, examples of thinking outside the box are easy to come up with, right? So we can come up with a different retail concept. To me, that's another concrete example of just sort of creating your own new box, destroying whatever other box you're in with your peers and creating something new. And so, you know, I tried to think about this when I was there at the meeting to apply it to not only my own practice, but then to my clients. And I was thinking about, for example, let me give you a couple other ideas. A number of my B2B manufacturing companies that I work with, and I work with lots of them, and we've done projects together with a number of them. One of the common things I see with all of them is this race to simply respond to quotes as they come in. They get a lot of quotes, whether they're coming in by phone, by email, by the web. You know, they're just getting these quotes in, and the common response is for the quote to go to engineering to work on the quote goes back to purchasing fills out their details, and they do everything. And there's enormous amounts of time spent following these quotes. And one of the questions I always ask them is, you know, what are you trying to do to improve this, to think? And so they always come up with ideas, you know, well, if we improve this efficiency and we improve this process, then we could probably get these quotes a little bit faster. Destroying the box would say, we just don't respond to quotes this way, right? Instead, we pick up the phone and we call you. And we're only willing to give you a quote provided you meet this criteria. So that was one example I was thinking of where these types of clients can actually destroy the box and create something new. Does that help a little bit more?
I think it does. One of the things on that example specifically that I know you've recommended before, and I'm a big fan of, is flipping that expectation 180 degrees as far as filling out RFPs and RFQs, and making companies who want to work with you fill out your questionnaire or fill out your survey before you'll work with them. And, I think that's another example of kind of blowing up that box. Instead of saying, how can we fill out their forms more efficiently? How can we market ourselves to them more efficiently? Flip it right around and say, all right, we're the prize here. We're a company that, is great to work with. We create high value work. So anyone who is going to bring us on has to qualify to our standards.
I think back to one of my best clients that I continue to work with, and you raised some valid points there, was my guitar client, where the guitar industry is a manufacturer, and the process has always been the same, where they make guitars, they find their distribution model, which is music stores and music retailers. The guitars go to those stores, they sell some. And we tried to look for ways to, again, destroy that box. And what we found was we could bring concepts from other industries, like the crowdfunding model. And we used that, and that actually doubled the business in 1 year, just doubled the business by changing the model. And it changed everything. It brought, now he was getting paid in advance before even making the guitars. And so again, this is just another way that we can think. Again, it's hard to not say think outside the box. Do you find that? Because we want to talk about that next level. I think there's a couple important things here that also came to me from this event, and I'll share those with you, Sean. Tell me if these spur any additional ideas. So one of the things is just surrounding yourself with a group of people like this. These are my peers. These are different experts. These are my support group. These are my colleagues. And what I find is when I spend time with them a few times a year, it challenges me to think beyond just outside the box, right? It challenges me to go deeper, to go further. And you know that we serve to many clients as advisors in this way, and many times the discussions lead to this. I serve as an advisor to many clients, many of my Tuesday Tidbit readers from my newsletter. And these are the types of things that we discuss all the time. Just how do we go beyond? And I think the key concept here is that it's important to have these people in your life and in your business. And probably more importantly, Sean, I think there's immense value of going outside of your company to find these people, whether they're experts. And so when I wrote about this, I listed the 15 or 16 different experts I was with and all of their respective fields, because I think there's value in trying to find these people that can challenge you in that way regularly and consistently, whether it's a coach, a mentor, somebody that you hire as an advisor, whether it's a peer group, a mastermind group, but you need to find these people that are going to constantly push you.
I couldn't agree more. I'm reminded of a line that your mentor uses that we've both stolen shamelessly when talking to companies. And it's when they ask, what's your experience in whatever industry? What's your experience in my industry? And the answer is quite simply, well, I don't have any. Look, I tripped over 12 guys on my way to your office that have hundreds of years of combined experience in your industry. They all work for you, and you still haven't solved the problem that I'm in here to talk about. So if it could be solved with industry experience, you would have done it already. What you need is that outside point of view, or better processes that are industry agnostic.
It's so true. And when Sean talks about, he knows of my business coach, my mentor. We've both read Dr. Alan Weiss, a lot of his stuff. That's who I work with. And so Sean's read a lot of his books. We're familiar with him. But one of his other classic lines is when the client says that to you, right? Noah, what kind of experience do you have in the pharmaceutical industry? Well, I don't have any. Well, then how do you think you're going to help us, Noah? Right? You don't have this type of industry. We can find these people inside. And that's exactly to your point. And the response there is, do you remember the response?
I don't remember. It's different than the one I gave, which is, look, I tripped over 12 guys with all the experience you could ask for.
Well, the response is typically, and that's exactly why you need me, right? That's exactly why you need me, because you're constantly being challenged by people that are here, that Sean had mentioned, we're tripping over. They're in this industry. They have one set of focus, eyes and knowledge in this particular field. And so you need that other person, that other group, that other set of peers, colleagues, whoever, that are going to challenge you, again, to destroy that box. So, Sean, I'm thinking here about a challenge. I don't know about you. I've got one in mind, but I want to ask you if you've got anything, or is there another topic you want to go to related to this before we get there? We're only about 10 minutes in right now.
I think we should give a challenge. We've spent so many of these podcasts going over that let's do a slim one today.
Sounds good. You got one?
The challenge that I have, really, there's two things that we've talked about today, and I just want to summarize them first. The first thing we talked about is destroying the box, blowing up the box. This is finding a radical way to shift either your entire business or a section of your business. So Noah gave some great examples. We riffed on a couple of examples there, both from very large businesses all the way down to smaller companies, just flipping the script on RFPs, RFQs, things of that nature. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? You could do this in any number of areas. Find a way to dramatically shift the expectation. The second thing that we talked about was the importance of having a network or a group of people, or even one person who's outside of your industry, who has expertise in an area that you're unfamiliar with, so that you can shamelessly steal some of the ideas and processes and things that work for them. So based on those two things, there's two pieces of the challenge for me. Number one is to think about blowing up the box in your company. What would that mean? Would that be within a single department? Would that be how you deal with customers? Would it be how you deal with your vendors? Think about a way to blow up some area of your company such that it would have a dramatic impact, hopefully on the positive side. Second challenge is to find somebody, at least one, preferably more, people outside of your industry to be able to talk to gather what's working for them. There's two of us talking here right now, and we'd love to chat with you. So, as Noah says at the end of every one, we answer every email that comes in, and we've had a lot of companies who've got in touch with one question that we've ended up doing quite a bit of very productive work with, just because having that outside expertise, having that outside view is very important. So whether it's us or somebody else, somebody in your town, somebody in your chamber of commerce, somebody in your network, find one or more people outside of your industry to talk to about what's working, what's not, what's changing.
Well, I think you've summed up that challenge pretty nicely. I mean, mine was essentially the same. It was to go and look and just do a diagnostic on yourself, do an assessment, and ask yourself, do you have the right people around to challenge you? Do you have those people to bring things forward? And more importantly, look at if you do have a group that you're involved with, or you do have an advisor, or you do have a coach, or you do have somebody you're working with, use what you've heard here today to ask yourself, are they challenging you enough, or are they just sort of what do we call them? Like a yes person, a yes man? What is the term?
I like bobblehead.
A bobblehead. Yeah, there you go. So are they a bobblehead, or do they challenge you? Do they agree with everything you say, or do they make you think again? It's so hard to not say outside the box, but think beyond the box. Think about destroying the box. Do they provide that? So do a quick little assessment of what you've got, and then you'll have a better idea of what you need. And as Sean said, find it somewhere. You can certainly find it with somebody like us, shamelessly, but find it somewhere and get that advice, get that person in your team, get that group, and get that sort of regular assistance to think. And then once you find one of those ideas, I think the key point here is you have to try it. You have to follow through on something. You have to take a risk. You have to be courageous. So changing your distribution model to say, we're going to crowdfund guitars, getting rid of, cashiers in your retail business and only using mobile phones, getting rid of inventory, right? And having people have lattes in Nordstrom's or whatever it is. All of these things are ways of thinking how we destroy the box. So, Sean, I love the concept. I think it's such a powerful way of thinking. I think especially in today's day and age of a quote unquote disruptive society, we need to be thinking this way, because we all know that there's some company out there that's looking to do this to us. They're looking to disrupt us. They're looking to destroy that box, and we can beat them to the punch. So that's all I got, Sean. You got any closing words here?
I think that's great. As you said at the end there, if we can find a way to disrupt ourselves first, we're going to be in a much better position.
There we go, folks. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's show. Please reach out to us if you have any questions, concerns, complaints. Always send those to Sean. I don't want to see your complaints. And always, we will see you every Monday or Tuesday sometimes when it's Easter Monday. This might show up a day or two late, but we're pleased that you're here. Please review the show. Definitely share it with your friends, coworkers, colleagues, and anybody else you think would get value from this. And folks, we will see you next week. See you later, Sean.
Bye now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to join us each and every week for another great episode of The Evergreen Show with your hosts, Noah Fleming and Sean Veltman. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review, and we'll catch you next time on The Evergreen Show.